around, you know, to make sure I was safe, and I thought he was just, oh, gorgeous. And then he laughed, no front teeth. And then I turned around to look at Pat, and there's Pat with an in the air, and I thought, oh jeez, I'm going to lose my front teeth as well. But anyway, we carried on down, survived that, and went to Ushuaia. And, oh no, this was one of the dancers that was in the street. And see if you can put the video of just, this is an image of the, you gotta look on the side. This is the only video that's on the side. I don't think you can see her dancing, but she was fantastic. And I spoke to her partner, you know, they go around afterwards to see about money. She was from Dublin. She was a Coast Guard in Dublin. And she had, oh, I just got bored, you know, and I went over, you know, like you do. So she was following her dream there. It was just amazing to see. So, but we go on to Ushuaia. Nice music. Pat and I learned the tango beforehand, but I don't think you want to see us dancing. So finally we were in the more basic Ushuaia, and it's very much a place where people are starting off to hike around, and it was a prison camp, and we went to see where the boat was. So these are the characters that were in the boat. This is Charlie, and he's actually on the tambourine because we were looking in an area where we knew there were whales, and we called the whales, and in fact it works, banging on the tambourine, and then there was silence, you know, we stopped the motor, and then you could hear the tambourine, the whales, you know, there, you know, and there was 7. But that's a little bit further on. Charlie was meant to meet us on the first night, and I saw him on the boat, but he didn't make it to the dinner because he met a woman on the way between the boat, and like it was from here to the buildings there. So that was Charlie, first mate. Chris was a guy from Eastbourne actually, who then moved to Australia, and he was one of the few sailors. Pat, Chris and I were sailors, the rest were photographers. And Chris started out as a trapeze artist, and then he was a diver, and now he's a paramedic in Australia. And then there was Doug. There's one in every boat. And Doug was that one. I was very concerned because Doug said, as soon as the whiskey goes, I won't be drinking any wine. And I thought, geez, we don't have Ativan for the DTs. But he was a liability, and he was the one that was, you know, helping Pat. And I watched it. I was coming along the snow, and I watched Doug reach over to lift Pat out of the dinghy onto the thing, and I could see the snow underneath. And Doug just leant on the snow, fell, the snow couldn't take his weight, and that's how that happened. But that was typical of Doug, so we'll move on from Doug. This was Lauren. Lauren was the expedition leader. He was from Switzerland, and he was great because when we were climbing the mountains and things, he would just turn around and say, you know, bailing is not failing. You've tried it, you go for it, and at least you've tried it, you know. So he was very encouraging, and he was great photographer as well. And Max was, I don't know if you get the Daily Mail, I'm not going to put that, but Max was, he has had a few photographs in the Daily Mail since, and he wrote about his trip to the Antarctic, and he says, I was the only one who didn't get seasick in the Drake Passage. No, he was as sick as a dog. Pat was the only one who didn't get seasick. But Max was one of those charming, Italian people, and I'll tell you more if we get about when we arrived in Cape Horn with Max, but that's another story. But Wi-Fi, always on his phone. As soon as he got near the Wi-Fi, he was trying to do that. This is Pat. This is Pat before the Antarctic trip, and this is Pat in the Antarctic trip. The other thing is that we had said we can go on to Priscilla. Priscilla was, Hank started talking about showers, you know, and if you wanted showers in the boat, Priscilla says, don't be too cold afterwards. We don't want showers, so that was under instruction, so we didn't. But Priscilla had survived the tsunami, and she told us stories about the tsunami in Indonesia, and she told us stories about, you know, clinging to the tops of palm trees, you know, as she was flying by. Then the following year, she survived a ferry sinking, and then she was on our boat, and well, there's two things about that. We did have a problem with the engine on the boat, which I'll tell you more later. But she had no sailing experience. Now, when we were going up the Drake Passage, if I'm talking too fast, let me know. And if you do want me to clarify, let me know. But, and at least I don't have to describe, normally when I'm telling this story I have to say, we tacked. This is what tacking is. So when we were on the Drake Passage, the winds were 27, gusting to 50? 40. They were gusting anyway, you know. So we were heeled to, you know, really on that side, and we had the lee cloths up for, you know, during sleep. And Charlie came down, a lot of us were seasick, well, I have to admit it myself, where Charlie came down and said, all persons prepare to tack, we're going to tack, you know, so. And Priscilla said she sort of lifted up her head, and she would cuddle Jack Daniels to sleep. And she lifted her head and she thought, attack? Who are we going to attack? And then she went back to sleep.